All right, if you're seeing this video, it means you probably got added late, and this video is just to help you get caught up on the first several Bellworks and to kind of explain a little bit about the class. So this is our Bellwork packet. We've got, just make sure you put your name and period on it, of course. We've got vocab list. We'll add to that later. We've got notebook paper, and then we also have, we'll do some Bellworks on notebook paper. We'll do most of the Bellworks on staff paper, especially once you get past the first several Bellworks. And then the last page is actually really important. This is our check-off assignment list. This is where I'll explain this better to you in person, but we will be playing pieces, or you'll be playing pieces for me for a grade, and each one of these is what you're playing, and that way you can either put a check mark or the actual grade here in this grade column for you. It's just to help you keep track of that. But let's start by going over the first several Bellworks. So, Bellwork number 1 says read page 4 and 5 in the book, and on notebook paper in your packet, I want you to list at least 5 elements of correct posture at the piano. This one's pretty straightforward. So, on this page, you are going to be reading all the elements of posture. You're just listing 5 of them. Just pick any 5. Write that on your notebook paper. Always make sure you label your Bellwork like this. Bellwork number 1, and then writing that down. The second part of Bellwork number 1 is drawing the 2 hands that are on page 5. So you're going to actually draw them. Don't trace your hand. It'll take way too much room. Just draw 2 hands, label 1 left, then right, then make sure that you're actually numbering the fingers like it shows. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And that's it for Bellwork 1. The second Bellwork, it says read page 6 and 7 in the book. On the notebook paper in your packet, it says write the musical alphabet and write it backwards 3 times. Why do you need to know it backwards? So let's go over that. So this is all really, really good information that you absolutely should read. Page 7 is where the actual Bellwork lies, though. So we have A through G is our musical alphabet, and after G, it would go back to A. But where we start in the piano book for the first several months, you don't actually see A or B. You're just going to be looking at C through G. So that's what I want you to do. And that's what I want you to write down for the musical alphabet. So for Bellwork 2, you have your posture and the hands here, however much room that'll take, and then you would have Bellwork 2, and you're just actually going to write out C, D, E, F, G. And then it says to write it backwards. Now, what does that mean? It means you're going to write it from right to left instead of left to right like we normally do. So you would start with G, then F, then E, then D, then C. And you're going to do that 3 times. And why would you need to do that? Well, it's because when you're playing music, sometimes the notes will go from left to right. And that would be in alphabetical order, C, D, E, F, G. But sometimes we go down, and that means that we're going backwards in the alphabet, G, F, E, D, C, which can be a little confusing. So that's what this Bellwork is trying to help you out with. The last part of this Bellwork, the third little bullet point, says to study page 7 and start learning the names of the white keys. Notice the groups of 2 and 3 black keys to help us locate the white keys. This is super, super important. So, all of these on here mainly focus on the C, D, E, F, G. What I would say is make sure you pay attention to the groupings of black keys. This is super helpful. So you'll notice starting all the way from the bottom here, or I'll use this one because you can see it better. We have 2 black keys, 3, 2, 3, 2, 3, 2, 3, 2, 3. And it keeps going. Well, if you can see right here with C, it shows you that C is with the grouping of 2 black keys. So find any grouping of 2 black keys, and then there'll be 3 white keys with it. And then that very left one is C. So this one would be C. Find another grouping of 2 black keys, very left white key. So that one's C, C. A whole bunch of C's up and down the keyboard. So what you should do is go through and try to play all the C's, all the D's, E's, F's, and G's. Those are the notes that you're going to be seeing in the piano. But don't worry, you're not going to be playing the whole piano. It's mainly going to be in one area, and we'll go over that in just a minute. The most important one we want to find, which you'll read right here, is middle C, which is kind of in the middle of the piano, right here. That's where our right hand is going to start. But that's all about Bellwork 2. Let's go into Bellwork 3. Bellwork 3 wants you to write the note names played in right-hand C position, which you will see on page 8. It's got it up top here. So you're actually going to write down the notes again, and then you're going to, so I'll do that real quick. Oops, Bellwork number 3. So you would write down C, D, E, F, G, and this is for your right hand. So you would label that right hand, and then you would actually put the fingers that play that 1, 2, 3, 4, and then 5. After you do that, you're going to copy and name these 3 different notes, and those 3 notes are going to be the quarter note. So let me zoom in on here. Oops. The quarter note, which you'll also find on page 9, the half note, and the whole note. And then you're going to actually label it quarter, half, and then whole. These are different note types. They are held for a different duration. So this quarter note, the one that's filled in, gets 1 beat, which we will go over later. That'll make more sense later. The half note, the one that's hollow in the middle, is going to get 2 beats, and this whole note is going to get 4 beats. The quarter and half note are on page 9. The whole note is on page 11. And then there are 2 note parts that are very important, and that is the lines that either go up, like you see in this example, but sometimes, here, I'll try to get a little bit better here. Sometimes the stem will go down as well. It doesn't change anything, okay? It's just for organization's purposes. So the other part is the note head, which is obviously the bottom part. That's like the circular part. So the biggest thing is quarter note. It's the one that's filled in that gets 1 beat. The half note is hollow, gets 2 beats, and then the whole note has no stem at all, so that's a giveaway that it's the whole note. That gets 4 beats, okay? And that is all of Bellwork 3. Bellwork 4, which is right here, is pretty straightforward. It just says to draw a piano keyboard with 10 white keys and 7 black keys, color in the black keys, write the name of each white key, which is also, again, on page 7. So the way I do this is I start by writing the lines first. So you would do Bellwork 4, 1, 2. So how many lines is that? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So 11 lines, and then you skip the first line, draw your black key, and then or 2 black keys, so skip a line, 2 black keys, skip a line, 3 black keys, skip a line, 2 black keys, right? Because we just talked about our keyboard being sets of 2 and 3 black keys. So fill in those black keys. Doesn't have to be perfect, obviously. Mine certainly isn't. And then you are going to fill in all of the white keys. So you would find middle C again by looking for the set of 2 black keys, and then 3 white keys. Remember, it's the very left one. So C, D, E, and it's going to keep going. I want you to try that on your own. Just remember, after G, it goes back to A. Okay? All right, so that's Bellwork 4. Bellwork 5. We have our first Bellwork that's going to be on staff paper. So it asks on staff paper, number each of the 5 lines starting from the bottom, and then number each of the 4 spaces also starting from the bottom. This one's pretty straightforward. I mean, it's just having you copy this right here. Here, I'll bring it better into frame. And this, make sure you always start from the bottom. This is super, super important. So 1 can't be up here. 1 has to be down here. And then try to do it at an angle like this, so that way you can make it kind of clean. Just make sure you're actually writing it on the line, not kind of just like throwing it in there and then it ends up kind of in the space. And then make sure these are in the space. It's very, very important, okay? To make sure you're doing the differences between the lines and spaces. Then you are going to, using the same clef, so you would put Bellwork 5 right here, number your 5 lines, your 4 spaces, and then with the extra room that you have, you would draw 5 treble clefs and 5 bass clefs. It's just to help you practice getting those down, okay? Doesn't have to be perfect. And then, let's see, there'd be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, so Bellworks 6 is asking you to draw different notes on those lines and spaces. So you would put Bellworks 6 here. Remember to always label your Bellworks. It says to draw a whole note, or all these whole notes on each line of the staff, sorry. That's pretty straightforward. Just start from the very bottom line and go up. And it says to draw 4 quarter notes on the first space. So that's why it's very important you make sure that starting from the bottom, that is number 1, okay? The first space on the bottom is 1, the first line on the bottom is 1. Or what we call the first space or first line. So then you're drawing 4 quarter notes on the first space, 4 half notes on the second line, just like this. Pretty straightforward. And then we've got a bellwork for you that is literally just copying the pretty much like steps or tips for learning new music. That is really straightforward, but I want you to still do that. Super important. And then we start getting into the grand staff and learning how to do note identification, which I'm going to make a separate video.